good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you today. Very, very glad to see you today. I will thank you for the time that you commit to come and watch this live stream. My name is Jonan Kanwanaho and I'm the team leader at Jonaki Holdings Limited. And at Jonaki Holdings Limited, we offer financial relief. We offer credit. If you have that deal that you want to close, so is that truck that you want to buy very quick, we do bridge financing. So you don't have to get stuck with LPOs, you don't have to get stuck with contracts, you don't have to get stuck with business items that you can actually clear in a short time, trade or sell, and then you can actually pay later. So that's what Jonaki Holdings Limited does. Bridge finances you, such you're happy, you're making money, and we're also happy. You can always check us out at www.jonakiholdings.com. Awesome. So I talk to us because, as I always say, iron sharpens iron. And through that sharpening, I've received a number of questions on most of the YouTubes that I do. Because I usually encourage coaching, I encourage mentorship. Because as you may know, you're not the top of the top in your industry. You're not at the top of your industry. So meaning that there is someone who is in your industry who has done it not only better, but also way above you. Meaning that he has experiences that you have not experienced. He has made challenges that you have not met. So if you meet this guy before you launch your business, if you meet this guy on your journey of your business, there are some things he's going to help you open up. There are some challenges that you will not encounter just because you've met them, because they are at the top of, they are topping that business in that industry you're playing in. So always look out for someone above you to walk with you the journey. So I've received a number of questions concerning the masterminds that I run in money lending. One of the masterminds for this year, of course I do like 4 or 5, but for this year, the very, very first one for 2023 is starting on 2nd March 2023. So there's a link you can sign up, because I've received a number of questions or a number of ways how can I join the mastermind. Now you can able know that you can join the mastermind. Just sign up. We do 5 sessions, 4 are online and 1 is physical. We give assignments, we track your progress, we grow with you. So sign up for 1.5 hours per session. We get to interact, and then you get to interact with guys who are in a similar industry. Let me go straight to our today's topic. What you must know before you start money lending. There are some things that you need to understand. There are some things that you need to know before you start thinking about lending. Very, very key things. Because if you don't know them, you'll burn your hands. Just like some have burnt their hands. One thing I want you to note is that you cannot perfect everything in the industry. That's impossible. So you need to learn gradually. So there are some key things you need to note before you start lending. And if you're already lending, there are some things that you need to monitor or watch closely. Because if you do not monitor them, you might get out of business. The first thing is formalize your business. I remember I've talked about this before, but it is one of the steps that you need to think about. I operated informally before I formalized. That's the truth. But all the years that I operated informally, had I formalized, I would have grown at a higher rate or at a better rate than I grew at. And during the informality, I stood a chance of losing out, of closing shop and failing at what I was doing, because I was operating informally. Let me give you an example. If you're building a bungalow, it is a different foundation altogether for someone who is going to build a 2-floor building. If you're going to build a 10-story building, it's going to be a different foundation from someone who is going to build a 3-story building. Now, engineers will understand this very well. The architects will understand this very well. So what I'm saying is that if you want to build a business that is going to feed you and your family only, for you and your stomach, you may keep informal. But if you're going to start something that is going to stand a test of time, that is going to transcend generations, then you had better build a foundation that will support the 10 stories that you're looking at. In this case, the stories could be the number of years. If you want a 29-year lasting business, you may have to build a foundation that is going to support it. You're not going to build a foundation that can support only a 3-year business and intend it to support 29 years of existence. It will be impossible. Just like I gave the analogy of the building. So if you want to stand a test of time, if you're not wasting time in the business you're doing, formalize that business. And what do I mean by formalizing? Go get a license. Go get a license. And to get a license, there are requirements that you have to have. Go get a license, because in case someone defaults on you, you can able to take them on. You can able to foreclose on the items. There is someone who will not borrow from you just because you're not formalized. There are some clients that will not come to you just because you're not organized. You see, the time I was still working and operating informally somewhere in another office where I was working, there are some clients who would not come in that office because they wanted a distinct place. If I'm going to trust you with a title that is worth 1 billion shillings, I had better know that you have a permanent address, that you have a formal place where I can get you at. But if you're still dilly-dallying, there are some transactions, there are some clients that you're not able to serve. So go formalize your business. Get a TIN number. Register a company. That's what I mean by formalization. Pay taxes. You can even afford, if you've not started making money, you can afford to file for 0 returns. You know, this year, I have not made money. Talk to your AA, they will not charge you for that. But one thing I guarantee you, you cannot formalize and you finish a whole year and you've not made some profits. That I guarantee you. So, first step, formalize your business. And in formalizing your business, there are a few subsets that you might have to look at. If you've been working briefcase, if you've been operating from home, now is the time. If you cannot convert that home to an office, now is the time to look out for a place. Have an address. Guys, you can afford to post your clothes, you can afford to post your electronics on Gigi or anything else. But when it comes to lending, people have to trust you first before they trust you their collateral. People have to trust you first before they transact with you. So you have to have a formal physical address. This is not a joke. It cannot keep online. So you have to be physically stationed somewhere. I know it will be a cost. And that's why in my video, which I talked about the amount of money that you need to start with, or what you may need to start with if you're starting to lend. If you're starting to lend, how much money? I talked about that. So you can check out my YouTube, John and Kadono. On that, I spoke the amount you're looking at. Because there are some costs you have to incur, you have to inject in before you start, it is pertinent that you start with some moderate amount of money. Because get an example. If you're going to start with, let's say, 1 million shillings to lend it out, even if you're lending it out at 30%, which is exorbitant, even 20%, that is 200,000 for Christ's sake. That might not even be able to pay the rent. So first, organize a bit of capital that you know that it can meet the initial costs, because you have to inject it. It can pay rent, it can pay you airtime, it can help you move from one point to another. Start with a particular amount of money that can actually, even if you lend out that money, its interest can actually support you pay those constant expenses, like salaries, like rent, like airtime, like lunch, because you will not work if you're hungry. So, point number 1, formalize your business. Under that, get a place of abode where you can have an office and fully operational. I usually advise start with at least 5 million Ugandan shillings, because even if you're lending out that 5 million Ugandan shillings at maybe 10% or 15%, 10% you're looking at 500,000. I can afford to get pay rent maybe of 200,000, and play around with the 300,000 to facilitate my runnings, my errands. Because remember, as you're processing some facilities, there are some charges that you make. So those charges are meant to supplement the profits that you're making from the business. I always advise, if you're in business for a long haul, don't charge very huge exorbitant interest rates. Because before you know it, the clients are going to default on you. That even if they give you that money, well, what would you do with it? Even if it were you, put yourself in the client's shoes. If I gave you 100 million and at 20%, where are you going to put that money to recoup that interest? So have that empathy, put yourself in the client's shoes and know that, you know what is it that this guy is going to invest in? And that's how fraudsters come on board. He'll promise you heaven and earth, and he'll not even give you a pin. He will not even give you a sand. He'll promise you lots of things, dance to your tunes, play around with the expectations, and eventually you'll get out of business. You'll get a loss. Because there is no way you're going to invest and the return on investment is 50% per month. That's madness. You won't expect that. So that's one of the indicators actually to know that someone is a fraudster or not, that someone is genuine or not, by the interest they promise you, because there's some interest that is not realistic. So start with at least 5 million and you can know that you can run the errands of the business properly as you actually grow. So there's some amount of money that you cannot actually start with. I'm being honest with you on this. Don't wake up one morning and you just want to start and you're not organized. Things are going to get hard for you. Point number 3. It is very, 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 very important to tame your expectations. Yes, money lending works. Yes, it's a good business. But it is important to know that in this business, there are losses. Just like any other business. So you need to tame your mind to know that, I'm going in this game, or I'm going in this business, this is a thing that I expect. Know that there are losses. That even if your assessment is 100% perfect. Let me give you an example. If people can borrow from a bank and default, with the processes that the banks go through, you apply for a loan in a bank and it takes you about 3 or 5 months. These guys are assessing you 360 degrees. But the clients can still afford to default on a bank. Who do you think you are? And remember, for you give out money in maybe 10 hours, in maybe 5 hours, maybe 3 hours, meaning that you've not done any assessment. If you've done it, it is half-baked. It is not 100% watertight. It is not 100% fraud tight. Because the more you want to do the assessment, the more time it will take you. But you see, you're in the game of bridge financing. If I have a car that I have imported, I want bridge financing that will clear that car in at least 1 day or 2 days max. So you cannot start telling me, come after a week, come after 2 weeks. Then you're not in lending. Because you're not doing bridge financing. If I have a consignment, I want to bring in these goods, clear them, and then actually pay you. So if I'm hurrying to clear this consignment, because every day that passes, I'm paying damage. Every day that passes, I'm paying warehouse. Every day that passes, there are fines that are attached. Every day that passes, clients' tastes and preferences are changing. So I need bridge financing ASAP so that I can actually clear my consignment, come and sell, and afford to pay you. So point number 3, a subset, it is important that you tame your interest, that you tame your expectations. Let me relate to this with the oil and gas industry. We had these huge expectations of the oil and gas industry, but it has taken us over 15 years to even start seeing some good progress. So the speculators came and people bought land at 10 times the price of the actual land in the Albert and Grabin, in Hoima. You find a neck of land which was at 1 million or 500,000, it had skyrocketed to 30 million, an acre. With all these speculations. So I don't want you to speculate. Know that in this business you're entering in, there are losses involved. So you have to look for a way on how you can actually address those losses. You have to look for a way on how you can actually assess properly to seal off those leakages, to seal off those spaces, those gaps that give a gap for fraudsters and the tricksters and the thieves to actually go through your system. It's important that you expect to incur a loss at a certain point. There are some loans you have to write off, that even if you do like how, you still have to write them off. So come in business with that in mind. Don't think that you're going to recover 100%. Yes, it is profitable, but you need to tame your expectations. Point number 4, it is important, very, very important, to start. It is important to start. If you're operating informally, you have not started, brother or sister. Let me give you this good news. Let me give you, I don't know if good or bad or whatever, whichever way you take it. But if you're operating informally, you have not started. Because you're just one mistake away from closing shop. You're just one mistake away from running bankrupt. You just need one fraudster who will play his game properly and you get out of business. Let me give you an example. These guys wake up every morning thinking about how they can beat your system. We had hands-on experience where a client forged a land title. Processed the land title in the names of the actual owner, processed the national ID in the names of the actual owner, to the extent that when we actually took the title to the registrar, he was not sure which one was a fake title, which one was original. Some of these fraudsters even connived with the owners of the land. So you can imagine the only difference that we had to hinge on, or we could hinge on, to cancel that transaction was the passport photo, which we did not look at critically. And that's how we dispensed money before we put a mortgage, and on putting a mortgage on the title, it bounced. Now, if we only had the 70 million that we lost through this fraudster, we would have closed shop. And that will take me to a point that I talked about in my previous videos, which you'll have to look at, or you may have to watch if you have interest in this business. Because I gave you tricks of addressing the fraudsters. We wired money before you put a mortgage on the title, and the mortgage bounced. And we lost the freaking 70 million shillings, Uganda shillings. And on following up this guy, the guy had over 8 cases at Central Police Station related to fraudster, related to theft, related to... You can imagine. So we're part of the statistics of the 8 cases he had. So what I'm telling you is that even when you're lending, have a limit. I even mentioned this. Have a limit. Don't give more than 20% of your loan portfolio. Because you can imagine if we had 100 million and this guy blew 70 million, you would only have remained with 30 million. And how long can that take you? Because you've lost your blood, your real principle. And one of the things that I learned from the richest man in Babylon, do not reach your principle. Do not lose your principle. If you can afford to lose anything else, but do not ever lose your principle. Because your principle is your blood. That's why I endeavor to come here and speak to you. That's why I endeavor to make time to come and speak to you. Do not lose your principle. Do all it takes. You see, I'm starting a mastermind for this 2023. Enroll. You might look at the cost as high of 500,000 Uganda shillings, but boss, you do not know how much you could lose. It's not any work. Because the things we study them, we talk about them with experiences to the detail. To the detail, to the core detail. So if you're already running a business or you intend to run, please, 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 please take this serious. You will come to thank me later. And in a way, if you implement the things, you'll have done yourself a favor, you'll have done your employees a favor, you'll have done your community a favor, and you'll have done your country a favor. Because we need to polish up this industry. It has been tainted, how bad it is, how fraudsters, how crooked it is, but it is our responsibility if we are lending to clean this industry. It is our responsibility to know that, you know what, there are guys who are doing it and doing it well. There are guys who can actually do it and do it well. You can build a relationship with your client, learn to them, grow with them. We need to provide an alternative, especially as children of the Lord, especially as Christians. We can do something uniquely. We can do something differently. So that's why I endeavor. So go pick 1, 2, 3 things, go and implement. One thing I'm telling you as I close this session is, if you're operating informally, formalize. If you're operating informally, formalize. Or else you're not in business. You're not operating at all. If it's one thing that you're picking from this talk, pick that thing, go and get organized. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for tuning in. I am doing, because it's a broad thing, I'm doing part 1 now, but I'll do part 2 next week, Friday, same time, 5:30 to 5:50. Strictly 20 minutes. But also you can get to check out my YouTube channel, subscribe, it's free of charge, Jonan Kandwanaho, and you get to learn from the topics I've talked about. You get to rewatch and watch and understand all these tips. And I know that together we shall grow, together we shall move, together we shall get to the top. I love you guys, and thank you for your time. God richly bless you. Have a great Friday and enjoy the rest of the weekend. I don't know which country you live in, but for Ugandans, all the very best, and enjoy your weekend. I love you all, and God bless you. Bye bye. Cheers.